On the left is a guy named Gene Bailey. On the right is Hank Kunneman. These guys are televangelists. They're pastors who are effectively like Trump pastors. They believe that Trump is the biggest and the best and can do no wrong, and they preach about him like he's a religious figure. I want to listen to what they have to say here. This is leading up to a presidential debate when they're talking about this. So let's give it a listen. Of course, it's a little bit older, but it's worth listening to. Let's listen, see what they have to say here. It's bound to be absolutely fascinating. While we listen, we're going to play some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Should just be in the background. Won't bother you too much. You never played before.
My first guest tonight, you've seen him before, and we're glad he's back tonight. Our good friend Lance Wallnau. Lance, you're looking dapper tonight with your green
Dapper. On point. Love it.
jacket there. Good job. Nice choice.
Yes, thank you, Gene. I'm just trying to look more casual,
Actually, I think it looks terrible.
giving the casual journalist look tonight to balance you out as the dapper newscaster.
Yeah, neither of them are journalists. Neither of them. And it's an embarrassment that they would say such a thing. To be fair, I'm not a journalist either.
It's great. All right. So there's a lot happening, Lance. I don't know. I'm excited about Thursday.
Wait, am I the only guest on? I just want to know, am I the only guest on tonight? Normally by now we've got 2 or 3 other guys in there. I'm getting nervous.
No, Hank is here. Is Hank's camera ready?
Okay.
Yeah. Not yet. All right. So, but here's the thing, Lance. Don't give away all my secrets, Lance. Thursday night,
This is cringy and terrible.
we've got a great program. We're going to be right there at Flashpoint Live, Ohio. At 9 Eastern starts the debate. That's usually about the time we start winding down. So, Lance, we're going to have live report back from here. We can't rebroadcast it because we didn't pay the however much money CNN paid to broadcast it. So we can, however, give you reports. So if you're with us in the room or in the tent or online, we will give you updates on what's going on if you choose to stay with us.
So, Gene, are you saying we're going to give live coverage of the debate as it's happening? The live commentary, is that what we're going to be providing backstage with the expert panel of Flashpoint?
We will for a little bit, but it doesn't start till we're almost done. So we will do some of that and see. Now, there's a caveat.
Well, maybe on social media. Maybe on social media.
God, these people are like obnoxious, dude. They're just terrible.
Yeah,
people should join us.
And we'll probably
join us on social media.
If we do all of that, it's going to be on Rumble. That's where we'll do it, so we can talk about it.
See,
there you go.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is real-time creation and process.
This is so cringy and stupid. Like, these people think that they're funny, and they're not, like, at all.
Meet us on Rumble to cover the debate coverage live.
That's
we'll
right.
all be analyzing the debate.
Watch us. We've just decided something that neither Lance nor I have to actually do. There are people in the control room that are throwing their hands up in despair. We'll get that done. But yes, I want you to know we're going to do that. All right, so I talked about
They're just awful.
the debate. I want you to watch Jesse Waters as he kind of breaks down the debate. Watch.
It's fight night in Washington. Trump stepping back on the debate stage, and Democrats already smell trouble.
President Biden versus Donald Trump is going to be.
Oh my God, Charlemagne the God. Sadly, he's a rapper. And sadly, he's like a right-wing nutcase. Unfortunately, I think he's an anti-Trump Republican, basically. But he's also an ex-Jehovah's Witness, surprisingly, and he still believes it. He still thinks that it's like real. And his dad got disfellowshipped, and he's like super disappointed in his dad. And it's just so sad, man.
Must see TV. So this shit is like a real live freestyle battle.
No, it's not.
Good luck, President Joe Biden.
Yeah. I mean,
Good luck. Donald Trump is dangerous because he's funny.
Yeah.
He's dangerous because he's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, funny like a clown. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Funny like he's an idiot and everybody's laughing at him all the time.
He's going to give us one of the greatest stand-up specials we've ever seen.
The refs sense danger, too. We're 3 days from the CNN presidential debate, and the network's already proving won't be a fair fight. They're gagging the Trump campaign and giving Biden pointers.
Who is they? What is he talking about? This is implying corruption on the part of CNN, I assume? I'm not sure. CNN isn't hiding its bias? Well, Jake Tapper's the one moderating. And Fox News is complaining about bias, okay? I don't want bias in anything, basically. But political commentators have bias. That's how it works. They can have opinions. When they're reporting news or doing debates, they should not have bias, though. It should not slip in. These aren't the people doing the debate, though.
For President Biden, one more piece of advice, because this is still a physical, visual medium, right? He's kind of got resting old face, right? So you need him to.
I don't think he I'm learning so much. Bars in hell, resting old face.
And so he needs to smile. And when he smiles, it goes away a little bit. Because when he smiles, his face comes alive. I would just say if they're practicing this, practice smiling as
You
he's
basically
doing
just
it.
said smile more.
I did, to an 80-year-old man.
Okay.
The Biden camp's feeling the pressure. Politico says there's feelings of disappointment and depression with Biden's biggest fundraisers who watch their cash advantage just vanish. Thursday's make or break for the Joe Biden legacy. If he falls flat on his face, both figuratively and literally, it's a green light for the Democrat switcheroo in Chicago.
Okay. He's saying that he believes Biden isn't going to be the one on the ballot, really? This is like a conspiracy theory that will never die at this point. They think that Democrats are going to pull Joe Biden out of the, what do you call it, out of the nomination and replace him with somebody? Really? Unless the dude dies or something, that's not happening. There's like no Democrat plan to pull Biden out of anything. Jesus, these people are like insane conspiracy theorists. People seem to think that Michelle Obama is going to replace him or something. What?
All right, so there's the big line there, Lance. I hope you heard that. He says the switcheroo for what happens in Chicago at the DNC, which has always been a question.
No, it hasn't. Nobody is asking this except for you.
That we've had here because this debate is earlier than normal. Is it just to set up perhaps a change?
No, I'll tell you why it's earlier than normal. It's because there's a law in Ohio, basically, that is never followed. But the law, it's existed for a long time. It says, basically, to get on the ballot, the federal level ballot to be voted for in Ohio, you must have a nominee chosen before, I don't know when, July something. It's really, really, really early. And like I said, no one follows this. No one pays attention to it or really even cares. But Ohio decided to enforce it selectively for the first time this year, which means that either the DNC, the Democrats, have to choose a candidate officially and like nominate him as the candidate way earlier than usual and change the timing of their conference and everything, or Biden won't be on the ballot in Ohio. It's a crooked, dirty move that I would expect to see from Republicans, which is exactly who's pushing this. That's why it's earlier than usual, because they have to move it up so Ohio doesn't with them, basically.
By the time they get to Chicago for the DNC, what do you think?
No, I've grown to change my opinion on that. And some of that is because of the frustration exhibited by some of the Democrats who are actually in a panic mode. I mean, you look at them. You look at Rachel Maddow. They are absolutely having a meltdown. They've gone from, popping the champagne cork over Trump's conviction, felon, to like, morbid anxiety. I think that...
What's he talking about?
Biden is at that age, sorry to say, a bit senile, where he's saying, no, I think I can do it. I'm going to stay on here. I'm going to pull this thing off. He is getting to that recalcitrant old crotch.
No, Biden is fine. Biden is perfectly capable of speaking, of communicating, of working, of doing whatever. He's not out of his head or confused or tripping over anything or falling or whatever. It's a piece of propaganda that these people want to spread as much as they possibly can to prevent people from voting for Biden.
The age where nobody's going to take me out of this, I'm going to do it. So he's not going quietly into the night. It would require him to have to keel over or something to take him out. So they really...
Like, these people are obsessed with the idea that Biden is, like, going to die any 5 minutes now. But just pretend like just pretend nothing happened during the State of the Union. He was perfectly fine during the State of the Union. And it like threw off their whole propaganda thing. So, oh, he must have drank Red Bull beforehand. Okay, well, I would probably drink Red Bull or coffee or something beforehand. But either way, the point is that Biden is perfectly fine and capable of everything that anyone else is capable of. It's just like mind-blowing to me that the cognitive dissonance in these people's heads is like impenetrable.
Are worried he might not cooperate. He seems to think he can handle this.
Biden might, like, what fictitious world is he getting this from? He's just like making shit up right now.
It's part of, in my opinion, the extraordinary judgment of God that he's delusional enough to think he's winning and he can do it twice. On the other hand, remember, CNN gave Hillary all the talking points and the questions. And do not forget Jack Tapper. He gave
Jake Tapper. What? Tapper?
Talking points and the questions. And do not forget Jack Tapper. He gave Hillary all the questions before the debate. This is a rigged setup.
Okay, I don't believe that's true. There was some nuance to this. And of course, Republicans are going to propagandize about it. Of course, they're going to use this to deceive people and make them think that like Biden has some edge that he doesn't have. Just insane.
It's Biden, 2 commentators, and CNN against Trump. It's 4-1, and that makes the odds even better for
Oh, give me a break.
Trump if he pulls it off.
All right, so since you brought up Hillary Clinton, look at this Laura Loomer post.
Oh my God. Why are they like obsessed with Hillary Clinton? She hasn't been in politics in who knows how long. 8 years now or something? Why do they care?
Look at this timing. Hillary Clinton is dropping a new book focused on refining her image 2 months before the presidential election. The DNC convention's in August. DNC rules make it very clear that the DNC leadership can install whoever they want.
Hillary Clinton's going to be the nominee, huh? Laura Loomer is absolutely awful. She's like an evil human being. Seriously. She's a Nazi, like a full-blown Hitler-loving Nazi. If you don't know who Laura Loomer is, it's here's one. This is a clip. It's always a risk playing something from Laura Loomer on air just because she's so extreme.
I'm a really big supporter of the Christian nationalist movement.
By the way, this is mid-August 2022. She claims to be Jewish, but she claims to be a good Jew.
I support Christians. I'm going to fight for Christians. I'm going to fight for white people. I'm going to fight for, nationalist movements. I'm going to fight against the anti-white racism that is being, perpetuated. I'm going to fight for all Americans, really. All freedom-loving Americans.
Oh, all freedom-loving Americans. Okay. In her mind, that exempts a whole bunch of people from the equation. Anybody that's not on her side. And by the way, nationalism, those terms are bad because it's the distinctive factor, the defining feature of the Nazi movement. It is what made the Nazi movement different from every other political party at the time or any other political party in the United States. It's different because of nationalism. And we can see nationalism creeping up in the US right now. That term is forever linked to Nazis because it is what enabled the Nazi rise. So she's going to fight for nationalism. Like I said, she considers herself a good Jew, one who's opposed to Jews.
I'm going to fight for all Americans, really. All freedom-loving Americans, regardless of their background. But there is clearly a war on white people. There's clearly a war on Christianity in this country. Even though I am Jewish, I'm still going to fight for Christian nationalism.
Told you, see?
I find that most of my friends and most of my allies and most of the people who I associate these days with are Christian nationalists. I'm a really big supporter.
Most surprising part about that statement is the idea that she might have friends. Listen to this one. This is she ran for office and lost. And oh my God, it was glorious. I loved every second of it. This is her after losing.
We are losing our country because of big tech election interference. And I am pleading with the Republican Party to please start taking this issue seriously. Please.
She's crying. I'm sorry, man. When you're a Nazi who actively calls for Nazi shit like this, I'm not going to wish death on you. I would never wish death on anybody. But I'm going to enjoy the hell out of your tears. I'm sorry. That's just how it is.
Because the American Black people deserve representation, and that's why I ran for Congress in 2020. It's why I ran for Congress in 2022, and it's why I'm going to keep fighting for all of you. I'm never going to.
Yeah, so Nazi tears, gotta love it, right? That's Laura Loomer, and they're quoting her. I think she's also famous for, like, chaining herself to the Twitter headquarters years ago, and then throwing away the key or swallowing the key or some shit, and then calling 911 to, like, break the chains so she could use the bathroom. Oh, Laura Loomer. Laura. Anyway. All right, let's listen.
Let's make it very clear that the DNC leadership can install whoever they want as their candidate. Well, let's see what Hillary has to say about her book. I'm thrilled to say that my new book, Something Lost, Something Gained, will be out in September. It's about friendship, aging, marriage, our politics and our democracy, the threats we face as a country, and how we can all work together to shape a future to be proud of. I can't wait to hit the road this fall to talk about it all with you in person.
Okay, she's going on a book tour. I don't know. What's the problem here?
There you go, Lance. There's your possibility candidate.
She's not running for president, okay? Hillary will never run for president again, in my opinion. She will never put herself through that again. You know, I don't like Hillary. I don't like her beliefs or ideals or any of that stuff. And I would only vote for her for president if it was like, if I had to, if there was like no other choice. That's the only time I'd do it. But after looking into Hillary and like why she's so hated in the first place, I'm a little more sympathetic to her. I was a Bernie Sanders supporter all the way, and she pulled some dirty tricks against Bernie in the primaries in 2016. Like, I'm not her biggest fan, but the reason she's hated originally is because Bill Clinton was the governor of Alabama or Arkansas. No, it was Arkansas. Yeah. Governor of Arkansas. Hillary was the first lady of Arkansas, and she was a feminist in Arkansas. The whole propaganda machine came against her when she started taking feminist action and trying to like fix things and make things better for women and stuff like that. It was all about attacking her because the people in Arkansas didn't like feminists. That was the whole deal. After learning that, I view her as a slightly more sympathetic figure. So, yeah, I'm not Hillary's biggest fan, but I'm going to give her a little bit more grace than others might for that reason.
Would they really try that?
No, they would not try that.
Well, look, Hillary, you remember the problem they had before was both Hillary and Trump had unlikables. The question was, who didn't you like more? Yeah. And the theory was that people didn't like Hillary so much they voted for Trump just to annoy her. So what they really know is they've got to get a Gavin Newsom. Michelle, they wish Michelle would come to her senses. Come on, Michelle.
Oh, my God, it's not happening, okay? Jesus Christ. Michelle Obama is not running for president. Gavin Newsom is not running for president. Not this time around, at least. I think he will eventually. These people are, like, so lost in the dark. I don't even know how to address this.
And take that seat, because Barack says, I'll run the whole thing, honey. Don't worry about it. I'm doing it with Biden right now. So you got Michelle Obama that everybody's worried.
Doing it with Biden right now. Like, they're claiming that Obama is running the White House right now. Come on.
But she doesn't want it because she's enjoying the leisurely lifestyle out there at Martha's Vineyard. Hillary.
Yeah, and that's wrong. Living in a comfortable, house or whatever, that's wrong. You can't do that. This is populist language, by the way. As if Lance Walnut doesn't live in a nice big house.
Don't want it because she's enjoying the leisurely lifestyle out there at Martha's Vineyard. Hillary is too obnoxious to run. I still worry about Kamala Harris. They got a problem because they can't move her off the ticket unless they got a black woman to put in her place. That's the catch-22 of playing the race card.
That is not happening. What is he going on about?
But Gavin Newsom is their darling. They just can't figure out how to get him in the storyline.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Let me bring in Pastor Hank Kuhneman.
Again, Gavin Newsom will probably run eventually, but not this time around. He said he's not going to run until Biden is done. And I would definitely vote for Gavin Newsom for a number of reasons that I'll touch on in a bit, probably.
Storyline.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Let me bring in Pastor Hank Kunneman. All right, Pastor Hank, I know you've been listening. What do you think about all of this with the debate?
Well, you know, first and foremost, I had a little technical difficulties. I think there's going to be surprises. In fact, my dog just left. So.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Anyway, I was trying to show you, you know, a dog. Okay, you know,
whatever you say.
Is chicken. So I think there's going to be some prizes. But
I don't understand.
Here's the big thing that's not going to be a surprise. Lance made a great point. I think President Trump, you always make it about, you know, what's, you know, this fake Biden, what's he going to be like?
Oh, fake Biden. Yeah, he doesn't seem to think that Biden is real. Like, he thinks that Biden is like a clone or something. I don't even know what he thinks about Biden. Maybe he thinks that it's like a stand-in, a body double. I don't know.
When he shows up, you know, if he shows up, I think it's going to be more about what are the moderators going to do, how they're going to try to set President Trump up, limit what he says, mute his microphone, and really make it difficult.
Well, no one's going to like limit what he says. He's just going to propagandize and talk right over everybody, including the moderators, and everyone already knows that. So yeah, they should absolutely mute his mic sometimes. You know what? I'll be fair. They should mute Biden's mic too if he does that shit. Everybody just knows he's not going to, is all.
I think that's going to be the real thing that's going to happen in the debate. And I said something last night on Flashpoint that, you know, the secular media is talking about. Wouldn't it be great? I'm going to say it for the audience that maybe didn't see it last night. Wouldn't it be great if President Trump would go and reach out to this Biden guy and move forward and give him a hug, and at the same time his hand slips and we see who's under that mask? Wouldn't that be great for the whole world to see?
They want to pull the mask off of Biden like Scooby-Doo style? What? I'm just like so lost.
But probably won't happen. But here's what I do think is going to happen. President Trump is smart by doing this debate. And here's why. You know, the fact that every time they come against him, every time they put this ridiculous, you know, convictions upon him and all these different verbs.
Yeah, you mean the convictions that he earned, the ones that he actually committed, the conviction that was decided by a jury of his peers, that one?
His numbers continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. And so does the people who are saying, you know what, I wasn't going to vote for him, but now I am.
I'm not convinced of that. I don't think that's true, but okay, whatever.
And I think it's smart because even though CNN is going to try to control everything, it's going to bring their viewership to him, and they're going to see that this man is the right choice. And he is about them and not about all these terrible things that we've seen for the last 4 years that have been destroying our country.
Terrible things, okay.
Well, you talked about the moderators. Let me show you this from the New York Post. Gateway Pundit shows us the CNN debate moderator's husband is one of the 51 spies who lied to the American public about the Hunter Biden laptop.
Debate moderator's husband? Okay. Let me just explain what they're talking about. This is propaganda, of course, what they're doing here. And they have to know that this is like a complete lie, right? A few years ago, if you're watching this like 10 years in the future, there was a blind repairman who brought a laptop in and gave it to like Rudy Giuliani, political operative, and claimed that it was Hunter Biden's laptop. When asked if he could prove it, he said, well, I mean, there's stuff on there. I'm blind, so I couldn't see the person who dropped it off, but it was, it's got Hunter Biden's information on it, so I have to assume it's Hunter Biden's. It's all entirely too convenient. In my opinion, what happened was Russia sent people in to this repairman. They found somebody near Hunter Biden or near somewhere that he's stayed long-term in Delaware, and they loaded this laptop up with incriminating material, pictures of his junk, and anything that they could possibly use against him. They loaded the laptop up with this stuff and then brought it in. And nobody could, prove otherwise or claim otherwise or whatever, because here it is, right in front of us. The repairman also had no way of proving that, it was Hunter Biden that brought it. And it perfectly fit the pattern of Russian disinformation. It is exactly what Russia would do. They've done this a whole bunch in the past, this type of thing. And some number of like intelligence community workers, like people from the FBI and the CIA, wrote an open letter saying this is like an exact pattern that we would expect to see from Russia. Like this is exact propaganda tactics that we've seen 1,000 times over. They wrote this open letter to Facebook, I think, and some other like social media networks saying you guys really shouldn't be like putting any weight in this whole thing because it's very clearly fake. Like obvious to literally everybody. And Facebook had already made that determination that it was fake before even having an open letter written to them. So it came as no surprise. But the propaganda machine went into high gear and started spreading this stuff around as much as it possibly could. And now, I mean, no one was specifically saying stop this from spreading, or nobody prevented it from spreading or whatever. Facebook and Twitter stopped it from going viral for like a day or two. That's it. And then they like released it. But as always, this propaganda machine turned until they got exactly what they wanted out of it. Wow, dude, I just died. That's crazy. That's like a really powerful attack. So anyway, I think what they're talking about, I'm assuming, I'm not sure, is that like these intelligence community people who wrote this letter are like spies and they're evil and bad and wrong and they deserve the death penalty. Like, I don't even know what their whole bit is on this. All because they said that this is clearly Russian disinformation. Like, you can't, I don't know how anyone can see it any differently. That's basically their complaint, as far as I can tell.
So that person right there, here we go. I posted this. Spouse of CNN debate moderator was one of 51 spies who lied to steal the 2020 election. Can she really be unbiased? Dana Bash's ex-husband, Jeremy Bash, was one of the 51 former intelligence officials who falsely claimed Hunter Biden laptop was a Russian disinformation.
No, that wasn't false. That was totally a Russian disinformation campaign. It absolutely was. Holy shit, dude. This guy is like a lot harder than I remembered him being.
Operation. So this is where CNN is putting their trust in this person, Lance. It doesn't seem to be middle of the road here. Do you think?
Oh, come on. We know that. You know what gets me? Can someone explain to me? Well, first of all, why is CNN doing the stinking thing? You know these guys are all... You don't even have to go to the...
Well, why would Fox News do it? Who would he rather do it?
Husbands and the wives and the nephews. I mean, the moderators themselves are out of the closet anti-Trump people.
Jake Tapper and stuff? Like, I don't think that they're out of the closet anti-Trump people, whatever the hell that means. But either way, people can be unbiased when they need to be. These people don't seem to understand how bias works and how people can be unbiased.
Not even him. Why don't we get I'd love to see Dan Bongino and Jake Tapper.
Because they're not biased, you see. Totally.
Tucker Carlson and Donna Bash or Donna Bing or Baba Boo, whatever it is.
What is wrong with him?
And let's have some balance. Let's fair and balance, my friend.
Well, just in case you're wondering, let me show you a quick look back of Jake Tapper. Here's just some examples for you to look back over the years. Watch.
President Trump pushing a brand new conspiracy theory, one seemingly grounded more in suspicions and his desire for a counter-narrative than it is based on established facts.
Who do you have that your campaign gets spied on?
All you have to do is look at the basics and you'll see it looks like a very serious event.
It's worth remembering that while we're sticking to the facts and telling you just what we know, President Trump apparently has no such constraints, since he simply makes stuff up. He frequently lies and has a long and well-documented career engaging in conspiracy theories about all manner of subjects with no concrete evidence ever provided.
Are they saying like it's biased to acknowledge Trump's lying and nonsense? Is that like, am I picking this up correctly?
So the erosion of basic standards of civility and human decency continues. It's not just a Republican phenomenon, but we are being led down the drain by President Trump. It's been a time of several significant and utterly avoidable failures, most tragically, of course, the unwillingness to respect facts and science and do everything that can be done to save lives during a pandemic. It has been a time where truth and fact were treated with disdain. It is a time of cruelty where official inhumanity, such as child separation, became the official shameful policy of the United States. But
yeah, all of this is accurate. Like, what's the complaint? I get that he's saying it in a biased way, but this is him on a political commentary show. People are capable of being unbiased. That's like not impossible. These people don't seem to understand what that even means.
But now the Trump presidency is coming to an end. It must be said, to paraphrase President Ford, for tens of millions of our fellow Americans, their long national nightmare is over.
And I believe this fall, our long nightmare will end as well. It's funny when you look at those things all cut together with the supercut there. Lance, when you see this, I mean, obviously he's not getting a fair deal. Why is it CNN? Because
Trump is not getting a fair deal? Is that what they're saying?
This is the campaign.
Like, he's such a perpetual victim. It's always everybody is out to get him and they're out to mistreat him and, like, get over yourself.
The Biden campaign's only one, he only said, CNN, I think, and one other, MSNBC had to be able to do and he had to pick this. Nobody's in the room. There's no audience. And they control all the camera views, all the camera angles, shutting the mic off in between because they don't want Trump to interrupt. I think the reason they don't want Trump to interrupt is I think they're concerned it would throw Biden off in his cognitive abilities.
Well, maybe this is a debate and people aren't supposed to interrupt. You ever knock that one around the old noggin?
Well, let me ask you a question. I heard Gene that they're going to have no audience there.
Right.
They're going to not have them interact. They're going to allow Trump to do the close. He won a coin toss, I guess, like the Super Bowl. But what I don't...
Yeah, that's all. This is how debates work. Yes.
No, what I want to really drill down on is they can't have any notes. Now, if they can't have notes, boy, is Biden in the soup, because he lives off a teleprompter and what they tell him to read. Trump, on the other hand, goes off the teleprompter intuitively just for humor. If they don't have notes, then you know what they're doing right now? I'm going to predict it ahead of time. They are drilling Biden with, answer it again. What are you going to say about...
Well, I'm sure that Trump has people helping him, like, prepare for the debate, too. Yeah, that's debate prep. First time?
January 6th, insurrection. Give us the quote we told you. What are you going to say about COVID?
Dude, I'm getting, like, messed up right now. Like, this is crazy difficult. I don't remember it being this difficult before.
What are you going to say about COVID? January 6th and COVID. Give us the quote. They're only going to hit Trump on like 3 or 4 consistent about being a felon. And they're trying to get him to memorize his lines. And I think they're preparing their Dr. Feel Fine elixir to inject into him so that he can show up vibrantly. Because,
like, this is all just lying. He's just lying here. And propagandizing and making it seem as though, like, Biden is going to take drugs or whatever. To my knowledge, Biden has never taken drugs in his life. They're just, like, distorting this and twisting it around to benefit Donald Trump. And they're complaining about bias at the same time. That in itself is not reason enough to complain about what they're doing, just showing bias when they're complaining about it. The hypocrisy isn't enough, but everything else combined is absurd. These people are absurd human beings.
He ain't going to have any notes.
All right. Well, Pastor Hank, Lance brings up a good point. If he has no notes, unless he's got somebody in his ear.
Well, they're laughing, like, as if he didn't do that before, as if he didn't do the State of the Union and he was perfectly fine. What are they even talking about?
I'm sure they're not going to let this, guy be put up there without some kind of plan to make it look like, he's competent.
Oh, yeah. So it doesn't seem logical or possible to me, so it's just not true.
But here's what I love. Remember what Charlie Kirk said last night, Pastor Gene?
Oh, Charlie Kirk is awful.
He said President Trump is one of the best debaters in the world. And every time that
He what? Trump is a good debater? Are you kidding?
I've seen him debate. He is incredible. And I'm a big Rocky Balboa fan. And I remember all the times when it looked like Rocky Balboa was taking the punches and it looked like the round was not going quite right. All of a sudden, it just motivated Rocky more and more to keep fighting, and eventually he would win the round and win the match. That's what's going to happen with President Trump. The more that these moderators, they continue to team up on him, I believe that it's going to make him more and more incredible at his ability to articulate what the Democratic Party has done these last 4 years. And really all he needs to do is open up with his opening statement and remind people how much that Biden has lied. He said he wasn't involved with Russia. He wasn't involved in Ukraine. He had no dealings with his son. Come on. If he just...
that's all accurate. You know, what was all that? One more time. I know a lot about the subject.
All he needs to do is open up with his opening statement and remind people how much that Biden has lied. He said he wasn't involved with Russia. He was
not involved with Russia. I don't know what that means exactly, but Biden wasn't involved with Russia.
How much that Biden has lied. He said he wasn't involved with Russia. He wasn't involved in Ukraine.
He wasn't involved in Ukraine. What are you talking about? Biden was the vice president during the Obama administration, and Obama had to deal with corruption in Ukraine. And the U.S. told Ukraine, cancel or fire this prosecutor who is corrupt as hell, or we're not giving you aid anymore. And it was praised by a bunch of different European countries and everything because it was the right thing to do, because it was pure, unadulterated corruption happening. That's the only dealings or whatever that Biden had with Ukraine. And I don't know what they're talking about with Russia.
Had no dealings with his son. Come on. If he just, lets the people know and reminds them how much that these people have lied, I think it's really going to set things up. I do think that President Trump, one of the things I pray that he does is, we know that he's a fighter, but I want to see him be a father figure to a country right now that desperately needs someone who can stand and say, you know what, I know you've been hurting. I know it's been harsh, but with my leadership and your partnership and unity, we are going to turn this country around. So I do pray that there would be that side of him of compassion, as well as that fathering way that a good leader has that reminds people that he is for them.
Fathering way, yeah. Donald Trump is super fathery. He knows how to do, fathery things, totally. That's why you always see him with what's his name? With his son? Barron? Yeah. You always see him with Barron. He's always by his side because he loves his son so much. He loves all of his kids so very much. These people are in another universe, honestly.
It's definitely going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. All right, let me show you what Lee Zeldin had to say about these attacks on democracy. It's backfired. Watch.
I think the conversation over attacks on democracy has changed a lot now that President Trump is they're going after him criminally. They're trying to lock him up forever. They want to bankrupt him and his family. There have been...
Wait, Lee Zeldin. Isn't that the person who ran against, ran against Kathy Hochul in New York? I think that's who that is. And lost the governorship or whatever?
States, they're trying to remove his name from the ballot altogether, denying Americans the right to choose for themselves who they want to pick in November. Just before the 2020 election, we all saw how the story about the Biden laptop was quote-unquote Russian propaganda. It was censored, the 51 intelligence officers. The conversation about attacks on democracy doesn't have to be however the question is framed by the moderator, just wanting to talk about one dynamic in one day. I think that a lot of Americans right now are seeing President Biden and his allies as attacking democracy by trying to remove President Trump from the ballot altogether, for example.
So it's back. What they're saying, what he's saying is it's obviously backfiring, Lance. In fact, what about this scenario? What if, since we're going with different scenarios, what if there's a group of people that really do not want Joe Biden I'm talking about on the left. So what they're doing is they're setting him up for a failure.
People on the left don't want Joe Biden, so they're setting up. Who is they in this scenario? Who are we talking about? Who does not want Biden, who is on the left and is going to set him up for failure? I don't understand.
I mean, it really does not seem, for as many things that are set up for his success, there's things like no notes that to me seem like it would be destined for failure. And they're doing this at 9 p.m. Eastern time for 90 minutes. We know that he doesn't usually stay up that late. So there are several.
Who, Biden doesn't stay up that late? Who are we talking about? How do you know that? Like, I don't understand how they're coming to all these conclusions.
Several items here that should be of concern, Lance.
Well, you know, conspiracy theories shall abound in our circles, of course. We've got everything from he's wearing a mask to, you know, they're setting him up for defeat. I personally have a simpler scenario. I think God is ruling over the chaos, and Biden wants his second term. Remember, he's surrounded by Blumenthal and McConnell and all these octogenarians, which are the 80-year-olds. They don't look at themselves realistically. They just keep going on and on, like, you know, like they're going to go on forever. So they're supporting each other in this. I really think that Biden has got the ticket. He wants to run. I've said I don't think he's going to be on the ticket, but that isn't because he wants to go off the ticket. I don't think they want him to lose. They don't want to give Trump any advantage whatsoever. They want Trump to look bad. They are working to trigger him.
And who is they exactly? Like, who is he talking about?
They're working psychologically to trigger him on January 6th. They're going to try to trigger him on Stormy Daniels. They're hoping he has an irrational moment of anger because they're going to make the case that he is a dictator in waiting and that he's got a vengeance administration.
Well, he absolutely does and has and all of that stuff. He's said that. Donald Trump has said these things. That he's going to take revenge on people who he feels wronged him and stuff. How did Lance Walnut miss that? What I find most fascinating is that Lance Walnut is like framing that as like a bad thing. That it's bad to take revenge on people or whatever. I'm surprised because you know that Donald Trump is going to do that. He's already said that.
They've got a really cosmic narrative, my friend. And I think that the answer for us is still going to be how to access the right way to pray. And that doesn't even mean vindictively or snarkily, but really to pray for America, because America cannot afford 4 more years of either insane Trump resistance that is self-sabotaging and rioting in the nation, nor can we sustain 4 more years of Marxist takeover where they finally take the Supreme Court over.
Marxist takeover.
Neither way, I think, is God's will. We really have to find the middle path and got to humble ourselves and say, God, have mercy on America. I think Donald Trump is a solution, but Donald Trump isn't going to be the savior of America.
And that's very profound. He is not the savior of America. And I know.
I'm surprised to hear them say that. Like, these guys usually view Trump as like the savior of everything and everybody.
A lot of people accuse us of being on the Trump train. You guys are all. No, listen, we're not. If something happens to President Trump, God forbid, we still have a God that's much bigger than President Trump. Pastor Hank, I saw you had your hand up, but go ahead.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you know, I was praying this afternoon and just really preparing for tonight. And the Spirit of the Lord kind of led me to something that I think is very important as we talk about the debates, or as Lance always brilliantly, you know, lays things out. And I was drawn to something that I believe God wants us to hear. And it was the parting of the Red Sea. And I never thought of this in the context of what I'm about to say and how God revealed it to me. And it says that there was a moment when it looked impossible. It looked like the communism and the socialism of Pharaoh and his...
Oh my God, dude. There is no communism or socialism in society today, okay? It is not an acceptable public discourse to have in modern day America.
Army was going to take over. The children of Israel were willing to go back to socialism or communism rather than go through the transitional period of that wilderness moment. They said, look, you brought us out here to die. We'd rather go back and be back under, you know, Biden for 4 more years. Let's just say it in a modern context. But something happened. Moses began to call on God, and God said, look, Go forward. This is not a time to go back. And soon as he went forward, he lifted up his rod. This is the part I want you to hear. The left side and the right side was congealed by God.
Congealed.
And I think there's a moment that we're going to see with these debates. It's going to be a turning point that God is going to step in and say, it's not about the left. It's not about the right. It's not even about the moderates in between. It's about my divine intervention that is coming, that has set traps for those who think they can take this country from me and from its people. And I'm going to bring a deliverance like I did to Israel. I'm going to do it again. And it's going to not be about anything else, anyone else, but it will be about God. God did this. The Lord is intervening, and He is the one that's going to cause our nation to cross over. And I think these debates are a very, very key moment and turning point where things are going to get interesting, but you're going to see God interjecting Himself in a greater way.
Amen. In fact, for that.
This dude believes himself to be like a prophet of God. He's a prophet. And he's prophesying special information that only he has access to.
Before we go to break, Lance, pray for all of this that we've discussed so far.
I'm going to. Hank, that was beautiful. I want to read something to you, and then I'll say a quick prayer. Black Bishop, whose permission I do not have, I want to share with you a text that he sent me because he rose up in my spirit tonight.
Did he just say Black Bishop? He doesn't know this guy's name, and he's Black Bishop. All right.
For Flashpoint. He said this, in 1991 in October, I spent 3 days in a hotel in Mount Vernon, New York, interceding for Clarence Thomas during his brutal inquisition. Listen to this. Much of it was identification intercession with much weeping, groaning, and tears. During that time, I became incensed when Senator Ted Kennedy was questioning Thomas's morality. I screamed at the television and Kennedy and shouted, "Who are you to judge someone like him?"
I mean, wow. I think it's so fascinating that televangelists are complaining about people judging others. Well, you can point out their degree of immorality if that's what they're basing their whole campaign on. Are you serious with this? He's claiming to be more moral than anybody else in this, race or whatever, judging himself and others. That's, the goal. That's the problem here. What a joke. Jasper Proxy says Clarence Thomas is a monster. He absolutely is a monster. It's disgusting stuff.
And in that moment, the Holy Spirit rebuked me with these words. You cannot be an authentic intercessor if you count any man's sins against him. I learned later from a close...
Really? Wow. So they don't believe that anybody should consider anyone else's sins all of a sudden, huh? Lance Walnaw here is saying that we don't need to look at anyone's sins, that it's their business and we shouldn't judge people. Kind of like, gay people, for example. We shouldn't be, looking at what gay people are doing at all because that's God's business.
Close friend that the kind of brokenness and sorrow I was feeling during those times was on Thomas's behalf. When he was home between the interrogations, he'd be utterly broken, weeping on his kitchen floor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't believe it. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just skeptical of everything, but Thomas is a monster, okay? Clarence Thomas is one of the first generations of Black Americans who were allowed to go to law school, who were allowed to do anything in the political realm or to get higher education at all. And what did he do with that power? He used it to hurt others. It's shameless, disgusting behavior. The dude is a political actor to the core. He didn't even ask a question on the Supreme Court benches or whatever for decades. Oh shit, I didn't mean to sell that. Damn, I was in the sell menu, not the buy menu. Damn, that sucks. All right, whatever. Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court justices are supposed to ask questions so that they can understand the case more clearly. Thomas didn't ask anything for decades. Kept his mouth completely shut. You know why? He already knew how he was going to vote. It was never about, intelligence or introspective thought or understanding the case or whatever. No, it was about political action and propaganda and lying since the beginning. Anyway, these people are shameless, man. Let me know what you think about these guys in the comments. Just disgusting.